I'm Kelsey Fry with MUATV.com, and I'm so excited to be here today at the Pacific Dining Car in Los Angeles, California, with my good friend, John Caglione Jr., Academy Award-winning Dick Tracy, and currently Academy Award nominee for Dark Knight. So stay tuned, don't touch that mouse, and we'll be right back. Hi, welcome back to MUATV. I'm Kelsey Fry. My friend John Caglione Jr., welcome to the Pacific Dining Car.
Thank you, Kelsey, for having me.
Yeah, you're here from New York at the Academy Award nominee luncheon.
Yeah.
Which is exciting. I've heard they're really fantastic gathering of all the Academy Award nominees through the entire nomination, actors, other makeup artists, editors, songwriters, everything. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What was that like?
Well,
you brought your lovely
wife,
wife
Helen, with me, and we were starstruck and psyched, and just we had a ball yesterday. It was absolutely amazing. It's hard to take it all in, but we did, and got some pictures with some celebrities.
Nice.
And we're fans. We still.
You still enjoyed the process.
I'm still a big fan, and it was a great experience.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
This is.
How are you?
Hey, how are you today?
Fine, thanks.
This is our waiter, Jaime Leon. Welcome. We want anything to drink?
I'll have a club soda with lime, please. Thank you.
I'll have the same. So, is this your second? Is this your second luncheon, nominee luncheon?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Did you go to the luncheon for Dick Tracy?
Oh yeah, sure. You know, we were living out here at the time.
So you were living out here for a while.
Yeah, we moved out, and when we got hired on Dick Tracy, I moved out here, and it was my first Hollywood picture, and yeah, that luncheon.
Dick Tracy was your first Hollywood picture?
Yeah, that was the first big job here in Hollywood. Yeah.
So you started in New York. For our audience that is kind of getting to know you intimately. Yeah. So you live and work in New York.
Yeah.
And you started in New York.
Yeah.
And your body of work mostly encompassed New York until you started Dick Tracy.
Yeah, all based in New York.
Because when I go back and look at your work, I mean, we're going back to like Friday the 13th.
We're going back to almost the silent screen days.
Well, almost. I mean, I'm seeing Friday the 13th, and I see, you know, Part 2, The Demon Lover, Manhunter. Was all those projects they were done in New York?
Yeah, East Coast jobs. Yeah, yeah.
So I find it interesting for the audience, especially people who are real fans of movies, you know, Dick Tracy, you know, all the nominees. I mean, honestly, we've been talking to all the nominees. We've got the Hellboy 2, and we've got Dark Knight, and you know, Benjamin Buttons, and everyone's always intrigued with how does one start their career. You know, I know there's schools and people go through schools, but you know, I didn't go to a school.
I didn't go to school either.
Yeah, how did you kind of enter into the business?
I just started, you know, fooling around with makeup, monster makeup when I was a kid. I found that famous Monsters of Film
Fangoria?
Well, I'm going back to the 60s.
Oh,
you know, I'm kind of dating myself, but I'm pre-Fangoria. I'm going back to Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine, and I found that magazine in my brother's bookshelf one day, and I was absolutely terrified, but shocked into the idea of that, you know, there was pictures of Jack Pierce doing the original Frankenstein makeup on Boris Karloff, and
that's amazing.
And there were some little articles in there, and so it kind of developed a curiosity.
Did you mail in for the things in the back? Did they have little things in the back?
Oh yeah, the Don Post masks and.
Yeah, you could mail in for $3.95 or whatever it was, and get the little kits. And
and what was really cool about it, I remember that very first magazine. It was the title page. There was a very studious older gentleman, Forrest J. Ackerman, on the.
Oh, I met Forry.
Yeah.
Oh, we just lost him. Yeah.
I know, and you know, it's just there was an older guy that looked really cool, and the title was "Welcome Monster Lovers." So it was like, if this guy who looks cool loves monsters, and this is something that I got to check out. So
he was more than a lover of monsters. I mean, did you ever get a chance to go to his house?
I actually didn't go to his house. He actually came to my shop when we were doing Dick Tracy, and I got to genuflect in front of him and kiss his Dracula ring, which was a great moment in my life, and he was really cool, just great guy.
and he really influenced a lot of people to really kind of open up their internal dormant creativity.
Yeah,
You know, he
yeah.
seemed to be really a vehicle for young men. Like, I didn't have that experience, you know, kind of being in the basement with the Fangoria or the
Right.
Monsters of Film, you know, magazine, and
Right.
kind of really kind of, you know, water those juices that allowed kids to kind of then explore their desire to be monster makeup artists. So did you think more about being a monster, you know, to make monsters as opposed to
Yeah.
makeup artistry in Hollywood?
Yeah, I think that's the first thing that caught my eye. I actually, early on, was watching Chaplin films. I think that was really the first, watching the old silent films. I got into silent films, and then I kind of got from silent films into finding that Famous Monsters magazine. And then I thought I was going to be a stop animator because I loved Ray Harryhausen and Seventh Voyage of Sinbad and Willis O'Brien, and I thought
Right.
maybe I'd be a sculptor and do stop animation. And then,
What is stop animation?
you know, it's where they actually did the original King Kong, and they made the armature,
miniatures?
the miniature,
Uh-huh.
and there was an armature built inside a foam latex puppet,
Oh.
and you would actually move it a little bit and then step back and click a frame.
Oh, kind of like claymation.
Claymation.
The same. Okay.
The same thing. And
So you actually were actually operating those little
yeah, I actually started sculpting the
movements
little
and gears and things.
yeah, little things like that, and I thought that was kind of really exciting when I saw Seventh Voyage of Sinbad,
I
one
love
of the
that
great
movie.
Ray Harryhausen epics.
All the monsters and things coming out of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
octopus.
the
Oh, that was the
Cyclops
20,000.
and-
The Cyclops. I was thinking 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Another great,
Another great movie.
Yeah.
I loved that as a kid.
So it was fantasy and kind of horror, and then kind of moved into horror and then makeup, and then I found out about Jack Pierce and all those guys and George Bow, and then kind of went in that direction.
Now, what was your first monster? What was your first creation?
I think it was like a Frankenstein makeup I did. I think it was about 8th grade, and I didn't know about I didn't know about
Your science
makeup.
project was a Frankenstein.
Yeah, it was for Halloween, and it was I didn't know about real makeup. I didn't know about grease paint at that time or nose putty, so I got my hands on some shoe polish that my parents had, and I did
love
the
it.
shoe polish makeup with big scars and stitches on my face, and did it, and it was scared a lot of kids that night. But then the next day I had to go to school, and shoe polish I found out really stains your
Really
skin.
stains the skin, yeah.
Yeah, so for a week I had faded stitches on my face with big scars. You know, so then I figured I better find out about nose putty
Right.
and grease paint, and
Yeah.
you know, and all, you know, and then there was
Did
a
your
nice.
brother succumb to some of your designs? Did you ever like nail him to a chair?
Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah.
He was my experiment in mold making. When I had to take a life cast of his face when I was about 15, I was taking a life cast of him, and I didn't have plaster
Did they have
Paris.
kits for that? Or I mean, how did you just kind of go
Well,
makeshift on your own?
Yeah, I had this little stage makeup book, Corson's, one of the first
Corson's.
ones.
Come on, Corson's.
Yeah, one of the early ones, and I was starting to fool around. I was actually working in a dental lab in high school. I landed a job on the plaster bench through high school, and I didn't have plaster Paris.
That's interesting that you
yeah.
got into a dental lab. It's kind of like
Well, you know, I got into it.
you were guided, I think.
Well, I got into it because I met Dick Smith when I was about 13, 14, and I went to his lab in Larchmont where he did Little Big Man and The Exorcist. He had a little basement workshop, and I worked up the courage to show him some photos, and I'll never forget Dick Smith said I had no talent and I would never make it as a makeup artist.
Dick.
And you know, you should become a dental technician because you know it's a viable job, and you can
to make teeth.
you
and
can make teeth, and you'll get, you know,
Get your hands
dexterity,
in-
and you know it's kind of the same
You'll
thing.
sculpt a little bit and do detail work, things like that.
Yeah. But you know, he let me keep in touch with him, and I really had to bust my ass. I mean, I really had to work hard at proving to him that I really loved doing makeup, and he let me
So
stay
you
in touch.
kept
and
the
I
relationship going even
kept it
after
going.
the first time.
I said, Mr. Smith, could I just please keep in touch with you? And he said, sure. And he encouraged me through a few years there working in the dental lab, and he saw improvement because I was really working hard to get the sculpture down, and then he recommended me to NBC when I was 18. I was just ready to graduate high school, and
What
so
do you
he
think-
stuck with me.
What do you think was the moment that he went from the boy, you'll never make it in this business to, you know, promoting you or, you know, recommending you for NBC?
Well, he saw that. Well, first I landed a job in the dental lab. I went after that and got it, and I just kept really practicing my butt off. I didn't just kind of give up and figure that was it. I really worked hard at my
So you worked at
sculpture and
home.
design work. Yeah, I had a little shop, a little workspace at home, and the guy that I worked for in the dental lab was really a cool guy. He would let me, when I finished pouring up dentures or whatever I was doing there, he would let me stay late and, you know, give me some dental stone and some things, and I would actually make foam appliances after work.
Wow, so you
at the
kind of
dental
became
lab,
the
so-
mad scientist
Yeah,
after
and,
hours.
and he was a cool guy at the dental lab. He
Yeah.
was actually into it and thought it was kind of a fun hobby, and so I was lucky, you know, between Dick Smith and a good boss at the dental lab, and
That
you know,
seems like
I got
a
a
very
chance to work.
intuitive direction, kind
Yeah.
of unknowingly, where
Yeah.
you're just kind of guided by your lifestyle and what happens in life to lead you to, you know, thresholds of your career. That's very interesting to just kind of work in a dental lab. Most kids at 15, 13, 14, 15 don't think about, I think I'll go and work in a dental lab, which is very interesting.
Well, I kind of thought that I wouldn't be a makeup artist at
Right.
that point. I figured I better do what Dick Smith says and try to find another way. And
He's influenced many careers, and
Yeah.
a lot of people I speak with, he's influenced many careers.
I wouldn't be here if it weren't for the guy.
Yeah.
I think he's the greatest makeup artist of all time.
Did you actually get the book too? I know that he had the book that he trains by. Did you get that at some point?
You mean the Makeup Monster Handbook?
Yes.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
I mean, that's a must-have for anybody. That's.
Yeah, I've never actually seen one.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. It's. I mean, even for me to duplicate some of those makeups today, that's tough.
Yeah.
You know, it's
And
really
the idea was that you would
beautiful,
send your
beautiful
pictures
work.
of work in for then him to evaluate, and then he
Yeah.
would evaluate. Is that how it worked with Dick Smith? Because I never really had that kind of relationship, but I've heard from other, you know, artists that you would get the book or you would be accepted. Is that how it was?
Well, that came much later.
Oh, later,
Yeah,
later.
that's like, I think he started that in the mid-'80s.
Oh, okay.
I'm still back in like 1973.
All right. Well, I won't rush the
territory.
interview. I won't rush the
Yeah.
interview. Well, let me ask you this: what did you do
Way
on your
back
brother?
in the
I kind of
prehistoric days.
there's so much fun information. Tell me about what you did with your brother, because I find that interesting.
Oh, my experiment in mold making?
Yeah. I like how you still
Sorry,
call it the
Paul, my
experiment.
older brother here. But,
I bet he's fine with it now.
yes, it took a little while for him to get over
Appreciate
that
it.
and to forgive me for it. But I had this little course in makeup book, stage makeup, and I was working in the dental lab, and I didn't have, you know, when you take a life cast, back in those days, this is maybe pre-alginate days, they recommended using plaster of Paris. You know, you put the straws in the nose, and you put grease up the eyebrows and the whole thing with Vaseline.
So the
And,
hair doesn't.
Yeah, so I didn't have plaster. I had this stuff called dental stone, which they used to make models of teeth in the dental lab. And, well, anyway, to make a long story short, I had my brother laying down, and in the book it says, give him a pen and pencil to write on, because some people are claustrophobic, and, you know, every
case
5
of, like-
minutes you check and
Yeah.
you see if, you know, how they're feeling, how
Right.
you do. You keep talking to the person, and you know, I made sure that I got a good half-inch coat of dental stone on his face. I Vaselined his eyebrows, and he was a rock musician at the time, a drummer, so he had the long 70s sideburns with the goatee, and so I had to grease it up really good. And so I put the dental stone on with the straws in the nose, have him laying down in the living room, and gave him a pen and pencil to write on. And I'm Paul, how is it going in there? And he writes, oh, it's okay, I'm fine. And then 10 minutes goes by, and I start to see steam coming off the dental stone, and I'm like, how are you, Paul? And he writes, it's getting warm. It's getting warm. And then about 25 minutes into it, he writes, it's effing burn. He just starts writing, ah!
So there's
It's like
some kind of
ripping
chemical
paper.
reaction that
Well,
hap-
it gets, you know, dental
Yeah.
stone gets a lot warmer than plaster. I found out.
Yeah.
And well, to make a long story short, we wound up actually putting his head on a pillow and trying to chisel the thing off. You see what happened
my
was
God.
it melted all the Vaseline off his face. It got so warm, so it got into every bit of his beard and
his hair.
and his hairline and.
So now you're doing a sculpt. You're chiseling.
My mother's making dinner. You know, she had just gotten married. He was newlyweds. You know, and his wife is like flipping out, crying, and well, we tried to chip it off, and then we tried
So
to.
immediately you try to take it off, and it's hardening. So you
It's
can't-
as hard as a rock. I
It's-
mean, dental
yeah.
stone. They don't
It's
call
like
it dental stone for nothing
nothing.
because it ain't plaster of Paris.
Right.
So we tried to you chisel it, and then I remember like trying to put his head in the sink to soak it, and the straws. He looked like, you know, water was coming out of the straw holes. We almost drowned him. Well, it wound up, we were in the emergency room at midnight with my brother. And,
oh my God.
And I'll never forget looking down, they have the little glass window with the stretchers in the emergency room, and hearing screaming, and his feet kicking on the, like, you know, ah!
Somebody's holding
They
him
just
down.
gave it the heave-ho.
Oh, no,
They
no,
just,
no, no.
They just gave it the old 1-2.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, I could feel that.
And that was my
You're
first
kidding
live
me.
cast and experiment in mold making. That was it. He still has a chunk of the dental stone that he keeps with his eyebrow in it.
With the hair sticking
Yes,
out.
perfect. Perfect. But you know, his wife was a
Oh,
beautician.
I'm still cringing. I'm still cringing.
His wife was a beautician. So every day before he went to work, she'd pencil eyebrows in for him. You know, and she was good. They were beautifully arched eyebrows, nice, you know, right out to the corner, you know. Great.
You know, this is like worthy of a short film, okay?
It's sick. It
You know what I
really
mean?
is.
Like a little short 15-minute, well, I would call it comedy now, but I'm sure
And
you
that
did.
kind of describes my learning process through my career. I mean, that's, you know, was
Oh my gosh.
being pretty much self-taught.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So what happened to, I got to know, what happened, obviously a first layer of skin came up, and it was just like a little
Yeah, it was
red and pulpy.
It was scary. It was really. It was. He was almost unrecognizable when he came out of the emergency room. He was like chunks of
As you
hair
can
and
see, I'm in shock. I'm
swollen
just
eyes,
thinking
and
about it.
yeah. So it makes you kind of realize, you know, that you have to really learn how to do this stuff properly for you at home, and
Yes, for you
do
at
your
home.
homework.
Yes,
and,
in other words, we'll do a little disclaimer.
Yeah,
Do not try this
yes,
at home.
do not try this at home.
Because it's not funny. Yeah.
Not good,
It
and-
is not the way to learn. Well, you know,
Yeah.
gratefully, there's a lot of education.
I'm much better now.
Obviously.
I'm much better now.
But your brother, you've kissed and made up, and everything's good, right? He forgives you.
Yeah, it's all right now. Yeah.
Oh, is your brother in town with you?
Deep cleansing, skin cleansing on that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Where's your brother now? What does he do?
He lives upstate New York. He's you know, he grew up near Albany, New York, most of my life, or about 9 or 10 years of my adolescence, teen years.
Does he still razz you about that?
Oh yeah, it's still.
Oh, you just
yeah.
hold that sibling.
Yeah,
stuff.
as a matter of fact, he told that story years ago when I got nominated for Dick Tracy, because when I won, they had local camera crews in his living
Right.
room, and he actually like told that story. I was like, Paul, can you know?
Thanks, Paul.
I mean, I want to, you know, can you just cool it with the story?
Yeah.
You know, but
now you get to tell it on your own
Yeah,
turf.
they found it funny, so.
I think it's actually a great story.
Yeah.
I think it's a great story. About your family now, I know your wife is here with you. Hi, Helen.
Yes.
We're glad to have you.
Helen.
And a lot of people ask about, you know, the junior, John Caglione Sr.,
Yes.
but it's a myth that your father is and was not a makeup artist. And God
Yeah.
bless him, he's not with us any longer. But
Yes.
what did your father do when
Well,
he was with us?
Yes, well, you know, he was a jack of all trades. He was a tradesman. But he actually has a large part in me wanting to be a makeup artist. He was a kind of a frustrated filmmaker. And he dabbled in makeup and effects kind of things, just for,
Really?
you know, amateur. Like when we were we have a lot of home movies growing up because of
Oh,
my
because
dad.
those are
Lots of
great.
movies. And he had the old UMIG cameras where you could do double
Wind it up?
exposures.
Oh.
And he got into trick photography. He started to do like double exposures, and just as a child, he would make movies of me like as a gangster mowing down my older brother, and he'd put like fake bullet holes on the wall, you know, like black holes, and do like stop animation things. And
Did he use like fake blood and stuff too?
not blood, but just more cartoony kind
Right.
of things. And like my brother would die, and he would do a double exposure of my brother's spirit rising out of his
rising
body,
out,
and
yeah.
he's saving my sister, my older sister.
These
the
are
damsel.
classic.
So we actually did. He was a frustrated amateur filmmaker, and on like Christmas, every Christmas he would set up the lights the night before. He would pre-light the room. I was like 3 or 4 years old, and
That's
like the night
fantastic.
before we'd have like huge like these lights, and it kind of like blew Christmas for me, because I was like, you know, Santa Claus is supposed to show up and come down the chimney and give us presents, but
There's all these lights.
like, what's
and-
going on with the lights? And then he would shoot.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So the living room would be set up with a lot of
Yeah,
lights.
a lot of lights, cameras on tripods, and if my brother, my older brother, my older sister, and I would walk in the room, and if we didn't like enter the room right, he would cut, and make us go back. I mean, I would see my toys, and he would make us go back out and do it again, like 3 or 4 times.
So you understand my pain with these intros I do, and I have these little flubs, like
yeah,
having to
no,
redo them.
I
over
understand.
and over.
I believe me. I know. I grew up with it. You know, every Christmas that's the way it went.
You have to reopen your presents?
Yeah, we wouldn't even get to them half the time. We would just like get the entrance into the room, and we'd have to go back. So, you know, all through my life growing up, there was always a sense of film and filmmaking. My parents were into movies, old films.
Did you take on the camera? Because some of those great old 8mm or the little hand cameras that they had in the 60s
Oh, yeah,
and 70s.
yeah.
Did you take those and make
I
films
did.
of the movie stuff that you did too, and the makeups?
Yeah, not too much actual movie film. I think we have a few of those things on film. But I actually started a film arts department in high school when I got into high school. So we would make short films, and did a lot more of that stuff there.
Were you able to use the makeup?
Yeah, I would do like little Chaplin silent films. I would make myself up as Chaplin and do some, you know.
Let's talk about
things.
Chaplin. You know, congratulations on your BAFTA. You know, you have a BAFTA.
Thank you.
Now, that
Beyond the
Charlie
Dream.
Chaplin influence really
Chaplin.
came through.
Oh, it was absolutely. I like died and went to heaven working.
I was
on
going to
that
say,
movie.
you're as a child watching the silent movies, you're influenced by the makeup, and then all of a sudden, Robert Downey Jr. is going to do Chaplin. How did that all happen for you?
Well, I think it was around the time when we were doing Dick Tracy, and we were out here in L.A., and I just finished For the Boys with Bette Midler, and done a bunch of old age makeups there, and on a few people.
For the Boys, that's when she did the USO tour.
Yeah.
So that opening makeup, wasn't it the opening where she's older, and then we go back and with James?
With
James.
Jimmy Caan.
Jimmy
is in
Caan,
it.
sorry, yeah.
Right. And,
yeah, that was amazing.
And George Segal. Yeah, it was great. That was a great job to work on. Bette Midler was so cool. Yeah, so I think it was in that time zone that they saw me. I was doing some old age makeups, and it was. And then they called me in on Chaplin, and I met Sir Richard Attenborough, and went in, and I think I only had they were about to shoot the scene where Robert's about 68 years old, and he's leaving America. Chaplin is exiled, and we had to do that makeup down at the Queen Mary in Long Beach, and I met with Sir Richard, and I think we only had about 8 days to prepare that makeup.
Wow.
And
that's a short period of time.
It was a short period of time, and Sir Richard was like, okay, I would like to see you do a test, and we'll look at it. And I was like, Sir Richard, I don't think we have time to do a test. I think we have to
do it and go.
Basically, you know, if you're game, we'll go for it. And I mean, I was a nervous wreck, but he trusted me, and we actually the first time that makeup went on is in the movie.
Wow,
yeah, we actually went in and did that.
That's really tough.
Thank God that worked out. Robert was very happy with it, and
tell me what brings to the design, and how when you're kind of under the constraints of time, and you don't have an opportunity in the, you know, which is a luxury to do makeup tests. You know, I mean, the night before you wake up, before you really are attempting these kind of makeups, what goes through you? What are the things that you're thinking about? How are you breaking that down? What goes on?
Yeah, well, it's an adrenaline rush. I think that's part of why we do what we do. I mean, even with lots of preparation, I think there is a certain feeling of
that anticipation.
Yeah, excitement. And I'm usually a nervous wreck doing any makeup. I mean, going and doing a beauty makeup or the day-to-day stuff. But I think you would agree that once the brush goes in the paint and you start, you're kind of.
It just takes over.
Yeah, you just, you know, you're in the pocket of it, and you just.
It's that intuitive sense of knowingness, especially when you have. I always found nervousness for me was a gauge of my integrity.
Right.
And for me, and the more nervous I became, the more I was really in check with my self-integrity and my artistic integrity.
Yeah.
So that it wasn't really the nervousness of actually, you know, I mean, it was nervousness about how would it come out, but because there's a lot of different collaborative elements that come, you know, once you put the brush in the pot, that's not where it stops. That's just where it begins, you know?
Yeah.
And so you don't know how is the lighting, the elements, the environment, the actor, the timing, the post-production, all these other elements. So you hope that you've got some influence or some guidance in what you're doing to, you know.
Yeah, you pray for that.
To have that all intact.
Yeah.
So I find that nervousness really keeps me in check, you know, and it creates a lot of sleepless nights.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that is part of the adrenaline.
It's what it's all about.
Yeah.
I think once you stop that feeling kind of, you're not really feeling that, then
Yeah.
it's no
my
fun.
feet are never up on the
no
table
fun.
like, I got this one down. I don't think,
Never.
never,
Yeah.
never. Yeah.
No.
Never.
And all day long when you're on the set and you're
Right.
maintaining the makeup, well, watching that thing, and if you've got an appliance on, and nursing it throughout the day, and so it's.
Did you have any challenges with Chaplin with the on-set and environment and, with temperature and things that are nice for the share with the audience that all of a sudden came up where you were like, that you had to attempt or to find some way to solve the situation?
Yeah, no, not too much on Chaplin, really.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty. I think we shot that in 1 or 2 days. We actually went down there and we did it. It was done, and but I just like feeling that edge where you walk out on the set for the first time, and Robert's there, Robert Downey Jr. and Sir Richard Attenborough's looking at it, and they're like, "Oh, this looks okay. We're going to shoot."
Now, was
this.
it mostly were there pieces involved? Or,
Yeah. I made a.
What was the design about a little bit on Chaplin?
Well, the whole thing is that it's Robert Downey playing
Right.
Chaplin, so you can't really.
Right.
He's never going to be Charlie Chaplin, so you try to.
But he looked so,
Yeah.
so close.
Well, I think it was the spirit.
Yeah,
that
I really do agree.
He became Chaplin,
Yeah.
and even Robert said, "John, if I think about who I'm playing too much, I'm going to blow it."
Right.
So his whole thing was to inflect Chaplin in this performance,
Thank you.
and it's our job too to inflect Chaplin in the makeup too, and not lose Robert Downey, who was an incredible actor, in the makeup. So there's that resemblance makeup.
Yeah, the spirit
Thank you.
actually carries the makeup, makes the actor feel that that spirit is now within him, and then all of a sudden the makeup becomes alive
Yep.
with what the actor brings to the makeup.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Let's take a break.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with John Caglione Jr., myself, Kelsey Fry, with MUA TV. Welcome back. I'm Kelsey Fry with MUA TV with my friend and Academy Award nominee this year for Dark Knight, John Caglione Jr.
Good to
Welcome
be here
back.
with
How do you like
Kelsey.
the lunch?
Great Cobb
It's good.
salad.
Audience, don't
Great
mind
Cobb
us
salad.
eating. We wanted to really give John a little LA experience, a little history here at the Pacific Dining Car. So
This is the first for me to chat and eat, and
I think it makes it a little bit more relaxed.
I enjoy eating more than chatting. So I'm,
That's all
but this
right.
is good.
So what
Great
we
to
were,
be here with you, Kelsey.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you for
so,
having me.
Thank you so much for taking my cold call in New York and being here. I know you've got a lot going on. You've got the nominee luncheon, and you're going
Yeah.
to fly back to New York and then come back for the symposium.
That's the plan. Yeah, that's the plan.
I go to the symposium every
Yeah.
year. It's the symposium is where the Academy brings together the nominees
Right.
and the industry professionals to sit with you in a beautiful, large, theatrical arena
Right,
that they
right.
have there where they screen films. And then each one of you get to, we get to see a clip of your film, and the work that you've done.
Right.
And I know that you're also nominated with your partner, in this movie,
Yeah.
Connor O'Sullivan.
Connor, who did
Yes.
the scars,
Who
the
did
silicone
the
scars. Yeah.
He has company Silicone Prosthetics.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. So the two of you
Yeah.
are really the design team for Heath Ledger's makeup on this.
It was. We
Yes.
worked in concert with each other, and very well, I have to say.
So he'll be at the symposium with you? Will he be?
I think so. I hope
Okay.
so. I hope he's there.
Okay. Well, usually at the
Yeah.
symposium, whoever the nominees are, they arrive
I
and
think he'll be there. Yeah.
you'll sit together. We'll see a clip of everyone
Cool.
because you'll be in a competition with Hellboy 2.
Pretty tough competition
Yeah.
there.
Greg Canham for Benjamin Buttons.
Beautiful work.
Mike Elizalde and Tom Flouts for Hellboy 2.
Gosh, beautiful, beautiful work.
I think it's great. I think
It's incredible.
Yeah, I was at the last year, which was really nice too. So I look forward to getting back to the audience about the symposium. So
I look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, you go back to New York and then come back for the symposium and the awards, or will you stay for a little while?
We're going to stick around a few days. We're going to go to Palm Springs, just hang out, me and my
Nice.
wife, and just chill.
Perfect time. Perfect time for
get
Palm
away
Springs.
from the snow and the cold in New York.
Yeah.
We live out on Long Island.
Oh, so it's been really brutal out that way, hasn't
Chill.
it?
You just came back from
Yeah.
New York, so you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to get some sun and chill out, and then I'm going to start a movie. I think we start doing makeup tests in a few weeks. So I'll do those, and then...
You're starting doing your makeup tests here in Los Angeles?
No, in New York. It's
New
a
York.
whole New York-based picture.
Can you give us a little insight of what you're starting?
Yeah, it's a movie called Salt, and it's Angelina Jolie is the star.
Oh, you'll be working
I'll be
with
working
my
with
friend
Tony G. Yeah, who I'm
I
very
love
excited
me some Tony
about.
G.
Yeah, I love her work.
Yeah, I call her the G-Force.
The G-Force.
The G-Force. You'll have to
All
let her
right.
know that.
I'm department heading it, and she's
Working
gonna be
with Angelina Jolie.
and she's got some cool things to do.
Great.
And yeah, it's going to be. I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. Maybe if it's not a close set and is it in New York?
It's all in New York. Yeah.
Maybe if we're
a
back
couple
in
weeks
New
in
York.
Washington D.C.
Maybe I can come visit you guys. Not so much to see the talent, but maybe to
Yeah.
talk with the both of you while you're working on the project.
Love to. I hope that works out.
Yeah, we'll try that.
All right.
So we were talking
with you.
a little bit about Charlie Chaplin before we left, and how you came up with the design in a very kind of quick,
Yeah.
manifested kind of way in order to
Yeah.
get the makeups done. So did Robert Downey, did he collaborate with you on?
Not.
How did the collaboration, I love to find out how the collaboration
Yeah.
process goes. How does that work? You with the director, you?
Yeah, and every job is a little different, I guess. There's different degrees of collaboration and who collaborates. But on Chaplin, that was really just get Robert into the shot, get a life cast, a head cast, and get that shot, which was going to be shot like a week later, and we did. So there wasn't too much. Well, the one thing on Chaplin, and it happens on most character jobs, is they don't want to lose the actor underneath. They want to still see Robert. So that was a keynote.
So you used some
there.
pieces.
Yeah, I used I think it was a wraparound neck appliance to give them.
Was that mostly silicone?
It was
foam?
no, it was all foam latex
All foam.
back in that day. It was more foam, and it might even.
It's still in this day. I'm finding that
Yeah.
people still utilize it for
Oh, yeah.
resilience, and
Yeah.
even reading about Tropic Thunder and certain environments, like foam seems to be
Yeah.
still a very chosen
I don't
way to
think
go.
I love silicone. I just started playing around with it because of Connor O'Sullivan and
Right.
the Dark Knight stuff that he did, and it was great that he showed me his technique and took time to explain it to me. And I think it's a great material, but I don't think it's the answer for everything. I think that there's room for foam latex and gelatin pieces, and
Right.
and it's just another material to.
Now, I just want to ask you, as a makeup artist to makeup artist, have you tried and I was reading about it, was the Dark Knight, were you using those type of transfers that have the acetate, the peel off, they're kind of like based on the Tinsley transfers?
Right, it's like a prosade, the
it's like a
prosade
prosade
thing.
that's on the sheet. Now, I know that other artists also have their own, customized development of that same type of process.
Right.
But when I was reading about, on the Dark Knight, that you and Connor were developing like a chin piece and a cheek piece, and the
Right.
part that works with the mouth, it was describing it that the mold was laid onto the face.
Yeah, it was cool.
Can you clarify that for me?
Well, I didn't really have too much to do with the application of the scars. It was Connor and his wingman, Rob Trenton, who would come in and they would put the scars on first. I was there and with Heath and the guys and
Right.
kind of an extra set of hands while they would do that. And their technique is to actually, with silicone appliances, encapsulated silicone, and they had this technique that I think Connor developed where it was the silicone, it was the negative mold. The silicone piece is still in the negative mold, and then they put a template on the face so that they kind of where the silicone mold would fit into.
Would fit.
And then they had a very exacting way of putting that positive mold. It was already pre-glued, and the skin was pre-glued in that area, and they would actually press the mold on.
So it's
remove
not like
the
a
template.
plaster mold.
No, it was a very flexible
a very
mold.
flexible piece of.
Yeah, it was. I think it might have even been silicone, a silicone mold or an RTV silicone mold, and they actually pressed that whole mold on that section of the face, and then they carefully peel the mold away, and the silicone piece is right in its place,
Right.
right there, right out of the mold. And that was their
sounds,
technique.
That
yeah.
has some familiarity to me.
Stamped on silicone prosthetics
Yeah.
is what it was, basically.
Stamped on silicone prosthetics.
Yeah.
From someone who doesn't develop silicone or doesn't understand that method clearly, because I'm not really well versed in the silicone.
Yeah, me too. I'm just getting into it myself.
It sounds like that kind of like a partial style of that prosade material where you have you place it on the face, because they do the aging makeup with those in other movies,
right?
And that you just lay that on, and then you basically peel it off, and then the prosade naturally, you can put adhesive down where it's going to go, and then you just flash out very quickly the edges, and then do your coloring.
It sounds like basically the same procedure,
but maybe just something different. I don't want to assume, Connor, that it is.
Yeah,
it is a Tinsley or some other artist method. It could be very much specific to Silicone Prosthetics, his company.
Yeah.
But it just, as an artist point of view, it sounds somewhat like that. It would be interesting to see that.
Yeah, it is interesting to watch.
It seemed like it was very fast.
Those guys, they wanged it down.
I saw that they wanged it down from like a 35-minute process to a 15-minute process, towards the end.
Yeah, could have been. Yeah.
To get it really down. I mean, 2 people are working, so.
2 people working on it.
Which is really helpful to the actor. You know, I'm sure to Heath's benefit. You know, the long hours and long nights. The idea is you want to come in, save your stamina for your performance.
Yep.
And get through that makeup process. That's something that actors are really looking for in these current times when makeup's can be so evolved, and production.
You know, where they don't want the star of the movie in the makeup trailer for
hours,
a few hours if they don't have to have that. So, yeah, this technique that they developed was a time saver. They
tell us
did a
about
great job.
how it starts. You know, from the actor Heath arriving to the set. How does it begin? I know Jan Alexander was your department head hairstylist. She's lovely. I love Jan.
She's a great lady.
And
very talented lady.
How does it begin? You know, because a lot of times our audience, they're very intrigued of they're kind of on the edge of where do they walk in, and they go to hair first, they go to makeup. You know, can you share whatever you feel comfortable sharing with us?
Well, it's just we get in earlier before the actor gets there, of course, and we set everything up, and Jan Alexander's there, and her, hair station's all ready to go, and.
Was that a wig he was wearing?
No, actually, she would trim and then kind of recolor his hair through the film, and
she maintains the continuity.
She maintained the continuity of the color and the whole
shape
thing,
and the length and
all
everything.
All of that. Yep. And then she had to do the whole film. I mean,
right, of course.
Not
on
just
top
the
of that.
I mean, I was lucky. I just got to key on Heath pretty much and kind of help out the department on some other things. But Jan had the responsibility of the entire film, which was a big movie. But yeah, he would sometimes get his hair touched up first and come in to see Jan, and then he would come into our chair, and Connor and Rob would start with the silicone pieces, and they would take cigarette breaks every few, maybe every 5 or 10 minutes. They'd go out and have a cigarette at certain points of the.
You accommodate. The actors are there all day long, and it's really about us accommodating their comfort zone as much as we possibly can.
Absolutely. That's our job, is to make them feel comfortable, set that environment. And
so he'd sit in the chair and have a few smoke breaks in the interment
of getting the silicone pieces.
Appliances
Connor would put those on and get that all set up, and then I would just jump in and do the rest, the paint makeup,
now, how did you
whole
and Heath
clown thing.
Come up with the kind of, I like to call it kind of the carny, I don't know, it's like a mix between carnival, like a old carny, and punk.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to describe the design of your makeup, but
I can't either. I mean, so
So how did you two? Because it's listed, in other articles that you've been on, that you both collaborated and choreographed.
Very much so.
You became dance partners in.
We did. We danced. Yes, we did.
On this makeup. Can you?
Heath and I. Yeah.
Can you share with us how that happens?
Sure. Yeah, it was great. It was doesn't happen very often where you get to. I mean, the look of this makeup really relied on his expressions and like you said, how we danced in the chair every day, and first thing was that Christopher Nolan, the director, wanted me to come up with a way of having the makeup appear to look caked and smudged
and worn
and then worn and then degraded through the film in stages. So that was Chris's idea, and then
because he doesn't look like this character, this kind of dark comic book,
Yeah.
sinister character. It doesn't look like he goes home and washes his face and then
No.
puts it on. It's like he lives this way
Yeah.
every second of his life.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the whole idea of the film. It's a real film. It's like, Batman doesn't grow wings and fly, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's all very practical, and that's something that Chris Nolan really wanted. Was he wanted it to be real in every sense of the word, plausible, possible, and that also followed through in the makeup on Heath, that it would degrade through the picture like a real makeup would, and
Right.
fall apart and not be exact, and you have a psychopath doing his own
Yeah, there's a bit
makeup.
of a psychopath effect to it, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you put that all in there. And another thing that really helped, when Heath and I were experimenting with paints, I went to London, we were doing some just playing around with makeup. Christopher Nolan came into the trailer.
That's where you did the tests.
Yeah, during the tests, and he showed us a book on Francis Bacon paintings.
Oh, I noticed that, the
which was-
influence of...
which was very key
I
to...
actually printed out some of Francis Bacon's...
so you see the kind of dreary
paintings.
kind of
It's kind of a distorted...
broad paint strokes that
strokes,
were very
but
distorted
like
and
any of the lines that
Yeah.
that simulate the facial features, they're distorted, they're overgrown, and then
Yeah.
paints are just painted all the way through.
ghostly kind of
Disfigurement.
images, yeah,
Kind of disfigurement characters,
like,
yeah.
like combining raw meat and people, and very dreary kind of broad brushstrokes.
Yeah.
And,
No one's filling in. It just looks like they created the disfiguration of the profiles or of the portraits or the paintings, and then just
right, kind of
throw paint in it. Like,
yeah,
Yeah.
just messing it up.
I think that's be our future. When we are retiring, we'll just kind of carry on Mr. Bacon's art. Then we'll just do some squiggles and
Yeah.
throw some paint in it. That'll be good. It's nice that the director
Yeah.
brings that to the table. Is to bring
Very
some
important.
visionary examples for the
Yeah.
makeup artist to kind of tie in with how the actor, with what Heath's feeling, how you're interpreting that, so that everybody can somewhat collaborate on an even.
Yeah.
I would say some kind of an
Chris
even.
had a vision. He had a clear vision of the whole film, and the Joker, absolutely. And that book was my inspiration. I mean, when Heath and I looked at that book, we were like, yeah, okay. So we kind of got into the brain of Christopher Nolan, and that really kind of was the springboard to getting that kind of destroyed, broken down thing. And then Heath and I developed this whole thing where he would, to get all the cracks and give it more expression, because we didn't want to do like a flat white painted face, because you really kind of lose a lot of expression. And I think that's when I was a kid growing up, the clown makeup always scared me, because if the face was white, you didn't really know what was going on in
underneath it.
there.
It masks it out.
It does.
Yeah.
And we wanted to kind of go the other side of that. And so Heath would actually, this is where the dance thing happens, he would actually like squint up his eyes, and I would paint these Illustrator kit colors, stain colors over the expressions. It's an old theater trick.
Yeah, where you're actually using the lines in the face to highlight and shadow the makeup. The pigment settles into where it's supposed to settle in and lays on top, and then you get all your highlighting and shading. Kind of like that old, take the burnt amber aging over the cowboy makeup, where you'd squint and throw it on, and then...
It's like Fistful of Dollars, on Clint Eastwood to get the sunburn.
Yeah.
It's all that. Yeah, so it's nothing new.
Right. But, it's just kind of carried through into a more of a contemporary execution.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just new materials. It was the Illustrator kits, which stay good all day because they're alcohol-based.
Right. So you can go through the elements, sweating, water, whatever it was going through.
Yeah, so it was just a matter of working with those and using
Did you
old theater
work those
tricks.
Around the eye as well? And the reason I'm asking is I came across a palette when I was in London. I think they're called, I'm just trying them, not to promote a product, but they're called skinks or something, and they're actually skin inks that have a water base that still have some resilience, so that and they're like an Illustrator palette.
No kidding.
But you can go right close up to the lashes, so that you can kind of build out, by like a half an inch, and then carry your skin Illustrator, so you can go around certain areas.
That's cool. I never heard of that. That was in England?
It was in England. I bought a little package, to give it a try,
Cool.
Can't just go without buying something.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a break,
Okay.
and what I'd like to do is I'd like to, maybe touch base on the Joker from the past and the Joker of Dark Knight, and ask you if there was maybe any considerations on that when we come back.
Love to. Thank you.
Kelsey Fry with John Caglione Jr. here at the Pacific Dining Car with MUATV.com. Stay tuned. Don't touch that mouse. You come back now. Hi, we're back here at the Pacific Dining Car. I'm Kelsey Fry, my friend John Caglione Jr., and we were just talking about a very good friend of ours, Felicity Bowering.
Yes, the great Felicity Bowering.
Yes,
Yep.
and
Yes.
Tony Ann Walker,
Yes.
who you worked with on State of Play, which
Yes.
is where we got our official introduction, thank God.
Yes.
But we were talking about Felicity, and I was expressing to you her gifts to me during my relationship with her, having been able to been her key or
And
her
that was
second.
on Indiana Jones,
on
right?
Indiana
That was
Jones.
Right, yeah, yeah.
And, you know, she taught me, you know, that if as a department head, you know, you are delegating a responsibility or an impression or a guideline by which a makeup or something is to be done within a production.
Right.
And you follow that, kind of like a soldier. I was telling you in my military experience,
Yeah.
it's kind of like a sergeant asking the soldier to follow, no matter what it is, that, you know, if you followed that with integrity and respect,
Right.
and with that responsibility, that she always backed her department up. She never, and there are more times than one, she never let anybody fall because
Right.
they were following the respect or the integrity of the job she had asked them to do. And that meant a lot to me growing up as a young artist, you know, and watching how Felicity Bowering, you know, not only in her creativity, because we both know
Well, I mean,
she does it all.
She can do it all.
She
I
does
mean,
it all.
That's
No,
the whole
she
thing.
does it
She's got
all.
the confidence
Yes.
to. I mean, there's nothing that that woman can't do. You know. So.
Yeah. And, you know, she expressed that to me early on in my career as well, is that if you are going to work in the caliber of films that she was venturing off to do, or any other artist that you want to do, you better know what you're doing, because if I ask you to do something, I don't have the time to teach you.
Right.
You go learn it on your own, get it done. It wasn't that she wasn't a good guidance, but when you're on a big $90 million, $150 million film, it's not the time to be a teacher. I mean, on Pirates or other movies where there was a specific design, we might have pirate class. Where we'd
Oh,
get
did you?
Yeah, we had pirate class.
Wow.
V.
That
Neal would
sounds
do
like fun.
pirate school. So, you know, maybe the first week of prep, the artist that she would hire in the bullpen to work on Pirates of the Caribbean, that would be V. Neal. She was department head of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Aces.
We'd get together
One
for
of the best in the
I
biz.
know, pirate classes, and so that meant that there was a certain, you know, build up, a certain tone quality that they were looking for, specific product, because she wanted everything.
There was a certain sunburn, kind of broken down look in that movie.
She didn't want everybody using all their own different products. Not that she wanted a certain, you know,
design ethic.
Design ethic, perfectly
absolutely.
put. So as we'd get our little pirate bags. You know, she made them up, and you were checked out, pirate bag 1, 2, 3. But I think that's great.
That's great.
I mean, that's organization to its max.
Sure.
And I loved it because you'd open the pirate bag, and it would be everything that you'd need.
Well, you don't feel like your ass is hanging out in the breeze. I mean, you,
Well, not only
really
that,
have.
but everybody's on the
you know,
same
you're-
page.
yeah.
Nobody's using this special concoction that they've mixed up. That way she knew that you understood what she wanted. So if it had a blue undertone, or if it had a ruddy undertone, or if there was a tone quality that she needed, that she knew as the designer, that the lighting or what was going to be in post-production, that everybody was on this, you know, use this color.
Well, you know, on those, I think I know what you're saying. On those big movies, it's like the great Disney animators. You look at Snow White, and you would swear that one guy drew everything.
Right.
But it was a huge team of layout artists and animators, but it looked like it all came through one hand. And that's what I think you're talking about.
I am exactly
These
talking
great
that.
department heads just have that way of setting up a show and designing it so it looks like I mean, we all know that there's no way that one person did it all.
No.
But it appears that way. That
Right.
They have that. It has that V. Neal, which is a distinct That's the great thing about being in the business now. As long as we've been in the business, you can kind of see certain styles in people, and you look for that in those films. And V has a style.
Yes, she does.
And you see that, and that's how it gets done. That's how
true.
it gets done.
And it's a very interesting process to learn. I always value those bullpen gigs because, there's always 20, 30, 40. I mean, you're well aware of that. You get these big movies. And it's really, it's its own job to try to keep all of those artists, in their synchronicity to, have the whole look of the film incorporated because they're doing main characters like A trailer,
right.
B trailer, C trailer, and then background,
Wow.
And to keep it all together.
I can't imagine that.
It's huge.
That's
huge.
gigantic.
It's huge. It's huge. That's all I can tell you.
And I'll tell you when I
It's a military installation is all I can do. It's like going on makeup tour.
It has its own zip code.
It does. It's like going on makeup tour. When someone says, hey, I did Vietnam, I
It's
go,
huge.
I did Pirates.
No, it's great. And, coming on a film like that, you come on, like when I helped Felicity on the film she was shooting in Boston, Edge of Darkness, I came up and I helped her do the background, and she had it all laid out. She had it all laid out. And when you're coming onto a film, I'm a little nervous. The department head, what's the look, what's going on, and it just helps coming in.
It gives you your starting point.
Yeah, it's like, wow.
And then everybody's comfortable. Everybody all starts on the same.
These are the materials I'm
line.
using. This is what we've been doing. She shows me the book of photos of the work that she's doing, and you
interpretation and design.
And the great department heads like Felicity and V, and
there's a lot of them out there, but those are the ones. Yeah.
They have it all laid out. So
yeah, it's fantastic. So I value all those relationships.
Yep.
Hey, how about a cappuccino?
Great women.
A cappuccino.
I love a cappuccino.
It's interesting how the women have come really full circle, and I don't know, maybe this might be a little too arrogant, but I'm not trying to be that. Women have kind of.
Thank you.
They're predominant in the industry, do you think?
Thank God.
Or do you think that I'm being a little too
No,
overspoken?
God bless them. I think it's
I'm
great.
just saying because there was a time
Yeah.
when women weren't as predominant, and it really had to.
It was a man's world, right?
Right,
The
they had to
studios
earn
in Hollywood, they were all run by men.
They had to earn their bars.
Yeah.
And it was really hard to wedge in there and
Yeah.
design a movie and operate a movie from a department head status.
I think it's great.
Yeah. No,
Right
I
on.
think it's great. I'm just saying in noticing kind of how it comes full circle,
Right.
women really, are not the underdogs in the industry anymore. It's come on
Thank
a much
God,
more
yeah.
equanimous level.
It should be.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be any other way. It's crazy.
So we were,
That's kooky.
I'm going
It's a
in and
kooky
out
thing.
of our conversation, but I love it. It
Good
makes
capo.
it really into. Do you like the cappuccino?
Good capo.
They're good. It makes a good froth here at Pacific.
That's
Dining
one thing
Car.
that I've gotten into recently. They call me Johnny Capo on the set now.
They do?
Tony Walker will attest to that. She's helped me become a better capo maker.
You have a little setup I noticed
I have a little-
briefly
there you
in the
go,
trailer
on
when I
State
would
of
come in
Play.
and visit on State of Play.
Tony Walker, I give a shout out to her because she
Yeah.
made me a better capo guy.
Uh-huh.
But I think it's the only thing that's keeping me with Russell Crowe. Because the makeup, forget it. But
I
the
love it.
capos, you got to keep that going. That's a very important thing for you young makeup people out there.
I don't think people people that are
Work on the
industry,
Yeah.
that work in the industry, they know that. But it's like, I wrote an article once about department heading for the artisan here. And I wrote a kind of a letter to my second, but I wrote it in third person, complimenting, what it takes for a second to really kind of, help a department head.
Yeah.
And part of that, in that article that I wrote in The Artisan, was that when we do makeup, and as my career has had a lot of, interesting women and personal clientele,
Yeah.
it's not just about always the makeup. The makeup is eventually the bottom line.
Right.
But everything in the interim is about, the bright coffee, the little setup, the little massage thing on all the little comforts of home.
The feeling, how you are as a person.
Yes.
The vibe that you're setting, the music in the trailer.
The music, the smoking versus.
Yeah.
I had a wonderful. I didn't have, but I have. I didn't mean it in a past tense. Wonderful relationship with Donald Sutherland, who
Right.
I really actually have to say I finally had a guy, and I have to say I love a guy. But smoking, not within 100 feet.
Right.
He's
a
adamant.
smoker?
No, not a smoker.
Uh-huh.
I'm just saying can't even have remnants of smoking, even though we know that's not a good trait. But I'm just saying all these little comforts that each actor brings to a show, people don't realize this. I mean, you know, in my teaching, and I'm sure that you've met young kids, you know, they think that, you know, the piercing and the whole thing, and there's all these elements of who you are and what you present and how you make house a little bit.
Yes.
You know, how you smell and, you know, all these other little hygienic little things that you do are really influential to the people that sit in the chair.
Yes.
And a lot of these kids that I've worked with
up.
that say, oh, I want to be free, I want to be this, I'm going to wear the top that's down to here, and I'm going to have the fingernails that come out to here, and I'm going to smoke a lot of cigarettes, and I'm going to have the gold tooth and the piercing that goes from the lip to the brow. I mean, I'm cool. I'm not an old fogey, but
I know. Yeah.
But when you're working with kind of A-class clientele, I think you can't always have sometimes the freedom of expression of who you are. With those people.
I agree. Absolutely. That's.
I know.
You're setting the environment.
So just the cappuccinos. That's all Russell needs is a good hot cappy.
Yeah, it's
a John Cappy.
I think it's what's keeping me with him now. You know. Yeah.
You've done 3 films so far, or 4? I thought I read you had worked on American Gangster.
4.
4. American Gangster.
Yeah.
State of Play.
Yep. Tenderness, a little film
a
before.
new film coming out, Tenderness.
The order in which I got to see Russell again was I did Tenderness, this movie. He came in and worked a few weeks. And then he asked me to do American Gangster, which is incredible.
Fantastic.
You know, Ridley Scott, and, you know, what a privilege to be with those guys. And then he asked me to do 310 to Yuma. I mean, Western.
That was with Jane Galley, right?
That was with Jane Galley.
Jane Galley in New Mexico, right?
Yeah, she's cool.
Yeah, what was that
She's
like?
great.
Not so much Jane Galley, but what was that like being out in the desert and doing a Western?
It's great. I mean, I was a kid born in New York and grew up watching Westerns. So, I mean, I'm a guy from New York. When am I going to work on a Western? Right?
Right, that's
so
true.
I died and went to heaven. I was on a Western with Russell Crowe.
Right.
So.
See, I was born in Arizona and started out as a hairdresser. I still am a hairdresser. I'm licensed in California and in Arizona.
Well, that's so good to be able to do both things.
Well, I haven't. Yeah, I did both in the origin of my career when I was working in print and fashion.
Yeah.
But I don't, and it helps me in understanding character and balance because I naturally look to hair as well as makeup.
Yep.
And I have learned from, some of my, hairdressing friends, how to do fracture wraps and wig. Even though I don't do those jobs, I find them that they're good to know and to be aware.
It's all there.
So that when you work together, you have a certain work respect on wigs and how things are done. And also fracture...
You know what's going to happen. You know what's going to go down.
And fracture wrapping also, is a nice rejuvenation
Is that,
technique.
Where it kind of pulls it back a little?
It kind of pulls it back. So a lot of times if you work with a hairdresser and you know that and you need to do a subtle rejuvenating technique, you can get someone who can really pull in that fracture wrap, and you know how that goes. You get a little bit.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah.
That also
That's
helps.
Good. Sure.
So let's go. I want to go back to before we had lunch, the Joker and the design that you and Connor O'Sullivan and Peter Rob King was the department head.
He was. Yeah.
Yes. Was he influential at all, or did he really work on the?
Not when it came to the Joker, really. That was really.
That was just a really separate...
That was a whole kind of separate thing between Chris and Heath, me, and Connor. Yeah, that was kind of a whole thing. Peter did the whole film.
Yeah.
But the Joker was kind of a separate thing there. And I guess that's why I got hired, by Chris, was to just kind of
keep that focus.
Key on that and work with him and them and do that whole thing, yeah.
Now, was there any discussion of the previous Jack Nicholson Joker and any, and it's like we're not going to go there and we're going to create something different. Can you highlight on that a little bit, the difference of that character?
Yeah, no, we didn't really, I don't think it was ever really brought up.
Really?
The Joker and Nicholson. No, not.
Oh, I'm just wondering from an audience point of view, as I watched the Batman series in film, I'm always intrigued to go, I wonder what one was thinking in the design, even though it's a different time, different actors and things of that.
Yeah.
Were they choosing to really step aside from that?
Oh, yeah, they were going into a completely. I think it was they wanted to stay away from the kind of cartoony images,
Right.
and get into more of a reality. The original Dark Knight comic strips are very dark and
They're very sinister.
real, and not primary colors at all. They're very muted, very realistic cityscapes.
Did you use them as a reference?
Yes, we did. We used, there was one thing, a book called The Killing Joke.
The Killing Joke.
Yeah, that was something that I didn't get into too much. I got into it a little bit through Heath. Heath had a little compilation thing that he put together, a little book that he kind of get into the mindset of the character. And I only saw a few of the clip-outs, the cutouts from that, the Joker illustrations from the Killing Joke book, and but not much more than that, really.
Do you find the audience of comic books really look to people like yourself and Christopher the director and, you know, Heath, that when they're kind of bringing a project like this together, that they're hoping that you align with the fanatics of how the comic book is? Do you ever get emails or letters or things that go, you steered away from that, or oh, you stayed right on top of it, and you know?
Yeah, not really. I don't really.
I'm just more
get
curious
into
than anything.
The blogs too much. I don't really look at that.
Because that's a lot of influence now. I don't know, have you noticed that?
No,
like,
it's a huge audience.
I mean, I get actors that sit that are like, they're looking at blogs and they'll go like, oh, they mentioned that my eyebrows looked a little too dark. I mean, what do you think? And I'm thinking, who's blogging you about your damn eyebrows? I'm the makeup artist here.
Wait a minute.
You know what I'm saying? So like, they get all this feedback from the internet that influence them to question sometimes the authenticity or their look, or you know. Do you ever get any of that in any of the?
I'm not a blogger, really.
Well, I'm not a blogger either, but I mean, I have the actors in the chair.
Do you really?
That's what I mean. They're looking at their computer or their iPhone and expressing to me.
No, I've never had that happen.
You know.
I've never been in a situation like. How do you handle that? What do you?
Well, like I said, you know, when I was doing a show, The Riches, and I was working with the ever so funny Eddie Izzard.
Oh,
I love him.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, I mean, and he's really a techno fan.
Yes.
So I'm just saying that, you know, he would say, oh, you know, the blogs, and he would say, so maybe, you know, this character or that or something, and so the influence, a lot of us just would say, well, we take that into consideration, or I think, you know, I didn't really heed what the audience was saying too much. It was like, I'm the professional makeup artist. I'm listening to what you have to say. You know, I think it all looks good, but I've just noticed that has become part of an
I've read a few things where they say that the makeup sucks on, you know, and you know
I hope I never read the makeup sucks for anybody.
You know, was the guy on crack when he did the makeup on the, you know, I've you know, read things like that on
Yeah. Oh, you mean where somebody thought maybe the guy who did the makeup was on crack?
That was a disgrace, the way the Joker's makeup appeared.
Oh, so they have no clue.
They were more of a fan of the Jack Nicholson look, and and you know, it's
they were different. They were completely designed
you're an
different.
artist. You put out your out your little displays, and you know, you put out your little, you know, necklaces that you make, and people walk by it. Some people buy it.
It's like when you go to an art gallery. It's like somebody walks by and goes, "Oh, that's fantastic." Another person goes by and goes, "What is that?" Yeah. But yeah, I'm just saying that's just a new factor that's kind of fed into while you're in the makeup trailer.
Instant information out there.
You know, instant impressions or instant blogging in regards to your look. And you know, actors, as sensitive as they are, can sometimes absorb that just a little too readily, a little too deeply. So
I can dig it.
So you stuck to with the was it Francis Bacon?
Francis Bacon was an influence in there. Yeah, it was kind of disturbing.
We talked about that.
Cool paintings, and Heath, you know, making faces and had ideas, and Chris Nolan, and you know, well, kind of the three of us just getting it, and you know, kind of, you know how it goes. You just kind of.
What were some of the challenges? Can you give us a little insight on that?
You mean with Heath? And just working with Heath every day.
Working with Heath. I'm not looking for any negative things.
There wasn't any. I mean, I'm not bull.
Right.
I'm not, you know, I'm not full of baloney. But there was no real drama. I mean, it was. I loved working, being his makeup guy on The Dark Knight, and he, just to give you an idea of what a day was like with Heath Ledger. He would come in the trailer. Sometimes, you know how it is, 4:30 in the morning.
Right.
And the first thing he would do is give hugs to everybody that was in the trailer.
I love it.
Big bear hugs. And big ones. And so you really felt it. And he made everybody feel that they were alive. I know he made me feel that way. And
Sounds like it was very appreciative, too.
The guy was living his life, you know, and enjoying everything around him. And that's the way it went every day. And so we would do the makeup, and he would go through the whole thing, and you know, be hanging off the back of the trucks and hanging upside down and doing everything that he had to do.
Did he do a lot of the stunts?
Did a lot of the stunts himself. Yeah, he was brave. I'm like, Heath, why you know, you got the stunt guy made up over there, why don't you? And he's like, no, I'm fine.
Did you make up the stunt guy too?
We made the stunt double up. They put the silicone scars, and we would do the whole thing.
And you kind of matched the makeup too,
yeah,
since you knew what it was.
Yeah, we would do that, and then the whole thing.
Can we give kudos to a stunt guy? Who was a stunt guy?
Well, there was a couple of guys. Mark Mottram from
Mark Mottram.
Yeah, from the UK. Great stunt guy.
Right.
I think he was one of the stunt coordinators on the film. And then Jim Wilkie, the great Jim Wilkie, who flipped the truck, did the whole thing, and had to fire the thing himself and flip the truck. And
oh my God!
So he was another Joker double that we did like a whole bunch of times, and so those guys were Heath's.
So then you guys would be hanging off the back of trucks, and
you know, he would do it all day long. Heath, he would be doing everything almost all himself, and at the end of the night, they kept it pretty much to a 12-hour day. The producers did an incredible job of planning.
A lot of night shooting, I would imagine.
There was a lot of night shooting, but they kept pretty much to a 12-hour day, which is the norm. I know it sounds crazy to people, but
it's actually norm now is 14 hours.
It's right. It's yeah. By
12 is lucky.
They were great as far as organizing. The producers, I mean, they deserve an Oscar for actually pulling the film off. It was a gigantic film and well planned. But you know, we would work a 12-hour day, and Heath would come in, and he'd be, no matter how banged up or bruised he was, we would get the last bit of makeup off. He would brush his teeth, get the tooth stain off, and hugs at the end of the night for everybody. Just all the way, you know, the actors and the makeup and hair people. And he just was full of life and loved everyone around him, and it was infectious. I mean, it really. After that film, I thank God that we had a chance to.
He set a bar,
connect.
didn't he?
He did set a bar for me personally.
Sounds like it. I can see it in your eyes. He set a bar for you.
Yeah, for me personally. I look back on films and I look at them now. They're on television sometimes, and I think, you know, I didn't enjoy that movie. I was stressing out. I was worried about this or that, and
or the dynamics in the trailer can create havoc.
Yeah.
You know, silently. Yeah.
And then I see Heath, who was just got the whole film on his shoulders and just loving it. And living it, and that was something that I learned that I took from him.
I think that's nice too. It sounds to me, I've only had not the same experience, but I think that's nice because when you've had those situations where certain films you've worked not as hard maybe or even harder, and the experience is extremely stressful.
Yeah.
When you do have somebody that comes into your career, into your life, you know, whether it's a personal person or it's a hairdresser, someone, and they set the bar, and the artistic experience and the work experience is something you take away with. Just it's like part of your life. It's like
it is.
It's that momentous in your life, and those don't come around every project.
No, they don't. And that was a big one for me. Personal growth, separate from the makeup stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he passed a lot of love my way, you know, and everybody else on that film. And that was an accident. That was just a terrible accident. The guy was living life to the fullest and loving it, and everybody around him.
Yeah,
and
I think
it's just sad that he's not here.
Yeah, it's really. I think the entire film industry community, as well as extended friends and family, feel the same way. And it's just sometimes it's just too short, too fast.
Yeah,
and that's really sad. People can touch people in a way that they don't have to necessarily be here. And be alive. So
I believe that they're all around us. I mean, we can't see them or touch them.
Silent angels, I call them.
They pass through us and visit us, and I just do believe in that, and I think we'll all see each other again somewhere. You know?
Yes,
I do.
So it sounds like it was a really great experience.
Oh yeah, it was.
How long did
I needed it? I did.
That's great to say. You needed that.
I needed
how long did the movie experience? How long was the shooting?
I think we shot we started in March, April, May, and we finished on Halloween, Heath and I, his end of it, and then they went on to Hong Kong for about a month and a half. I think I was on the film, Helen, about 8 months, something like that, altogether with testing and shooting. Yeah, it was a great situation, and that's something.
Now, does that makeup design, I just want to, I know this is going to be an unusual question, but does the makeup design that you and Heath and Connor come together to make, even though it's on a movie, does that belong to you or does it belong to the studios, that image?
Yeah,
and I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think we're work for hire.
So, I mean, if you wanted to utilize that makeup, I mean, that image belongs to the studios, even though you guys came up with you. So, and yes, they're work for hire, but if they have a design that maybe could be another character or, have some other artistic use, is it not yours any longer? It belongs to somebody else.
I do believe with the Dark Knight, it's ours no longer.
It's yours no longer.
It's theirs. It's their image, and you have to be careful how you represent it, how you use it. I think in that case, they Warner Brothers, DC Comics, maybe Heath, his image. I think that they own pretty much the.
Because in the early, likeness. I learned something a few years back that, and this isn't about the Dark Knight, but that I was working on a commercial where we had to do clowns, and I didn't realize this, but clowns own the copyright to their looks.
I guess
and
they do.
I was using research, to do this commercial, and I'd come across some clowns, and I didn't realize, but when I was prepping, they said we need to get a release for the clown makeups, and I was thinking,
wow,
a release for the clown makeups? I mean, they're just in a book. We're just going to go, nope, they're a copyright. If we use any resemblance of that clown makeup on a commercial, we have to pay residual or copyrights.
Makes sense, yeah.
So I didn't realize that. So I didn't know. I just kind of was curious.
No, I think it's the
and
same.
mime makeups too. I didn't realize.
Is that really? Wow.
Mimes, like if you do something that
you
has
copy a line or a certain expression,
or a certain, like if it goes up or if it goes down or the eyes are a certain shape. Absolutely.
Wow.
Very interesting. Well, John, let's take a break for a moment.
Okay.
We're going to have a little of this fantastic chocolate souffle here at the Pacific Dining Car.
Great.
We're going to come back and talk more with John Caglione Jr. So stay tuned. I'm Kelsey Fry, MUA-TV. Don't touch that mouse. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Kelsey Fry with MUA-TV, having dessert with Johnny Capo. Johnny Capo, having some dessert at the Pacific Dining Car. Thank you so much for spending a lovely lunch with me. I'm not quite finished with you.
Thank you, Kelsey. Thank you.
How do you like the chocolate souffle?
Fabulous, incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah, incredible.
I'm going to have to
order another one. It's on their tab, right?
It's on their tab.
I'm definitely going for another one.
Go for it. So I'm going to have to get one of those
Joe.
Johnny Capos from you the next time I see you on the set.
I'll learn something from you, too. I'm always curious to pick up some new things.
All right, well, maybe we'll do a Capo together.
Let's do a Capo collaboration.
A Capo collaboration.
Let's do it.
I love it. Now, let me ask you, as I go through your resume, I see that you've had the likes of not only doing Chaplin, Robert Downey Jr., Al Pacino.
Yeah.
What's that like? I mean, come on,
unbelievable.
Al Pacino.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. I had the likes of Diane Keaton, who also had the likes of Al Pacino.
Kind of makes your knees get weak, doesn't it?
It does a little bit, yeah. Especially when you have these icons that we've grown up with. So what's it like a day in the life in the chair with Al Pacino as a makeup artist?
You mean like one of the first times dealing with him?
Yeah.
I was crapping my pants. I mean, I was,
my goodness.
it was like, I remember back on Dick Tracy.
We're going to talk about Dick Tracy, too.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about
Well, that's where I first met Al.
Okay.
Yeah, on Dick Tracy. And I was on the phone with Warren Beatty, and we were in the lab working, and he says, I'm going to send over the actor who's going to play Big Boy tonight. And I before I could even ask him who it was, he hung up the phone. And so like around 9 o'clock that night, I knock on the door, and I open the blinds a little bit to look out, and there's Al Pacino standing there. I'm like,
oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
So you like going...
I think I like kind of hid. I kind of like crouched in the corner, and I had to I was like hyperventilating.
Yeah.
Growing up on the Godfather movies, which was a very big influence in my life, and I'll never forget when I.
Is he doing one of these? Is he like waiting for you down to the door, like straightening the tie or doing anything Al Pacino-ish?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I kind of went into a time distortion. I don't really remember much. The only thing I remember is I think I was just hyperventilating and so nervous that he was like, calm down, calm down. He was like, take it easy.
See it?
Yeah. And then right away just made me feel very relaxed and had a very big, there was another collaboration where the actor has a lot of ideas about a character and the makeup, and Al had a lot of influence on the design.
Let's talk about Dick Tracy and all the collaborations
a lot of
and
that
all the
going
characters.
on there. Yeah.
How were you working in that? Were you department head in that film?
Yeah. My head was basically on the chopping block if it didn't work. That's how it.
Oh, that's always
That's
fun.
what it boils down to on Dick Tracy. The
Can
blank.
we run through? Yeah, can we run through a little bit of? Because that's a lot of design, a lot of characters.
Yeah. Well, it was a miracle just getting the job because I was from New York.
How did that happen for you?
I did this movie called The Cotton Club years ago.
Oh,
and
I love The Cotton Club, by the way.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying this because you're here. Most beautiful beauty period makeup.
Well, I had nothing to do with that.
Well,
that was Richard
I'm just
Dean
still
and
saying. I'm still saying though.
Lynn Kwayu, great,
Beautiful
excellent
period
people.
ethnicity makeup.
Yeah.
I mean, so gorgeous, that movie. I loved it.
Well,
I'm just saying that though, because
yeah, some beautiful work was laid down there.
that was really
the period
beautiful.
work.
Beautiful.
Milena Canonero, the costume designer,
Beautiful.
was on Cotton Club and on Dick Tracy. And I just did the prosthetic makeup on the Cotton Club. When people got shot, and I actually got that job through Dick Smith because Francis Ford Coppola directed Cotton Club and wanted to have Dick. And Dick, I don't know if he was busy on a job at the time, but he recommended me. And I'll never forget going in to meet with Francis Coppola with Dick Smith, who did the Godfather.
With you, the guy that'll never make it.
With me, the guy that would never make it. Look at that.
I know it.
Look at that.
Look
Miracles
how that,
happen.
Isn't that amazing? The guy will never make it.
And maybe Dick Smith was thinking that day.
I'm
here with the guy that
so.
would never make it.
No, but there you are with Francis Ford Coppola, Dick Smith.
And
there you
I
are.
died and went to heaven that
that's
day.
fantastic.
I'll never forget that image. There's the two guys that created The Godfather, and I'm there. And that was great that Dick put himself on the line and trusted me with the makeup, and Dick and I kind of worked together on the Dutch Schultz makeup, the guy who plays Dutch Schultz, and I made the nose, and Dick Smith made these beautiful plumpers that went inside James Raymar's mouth that made his face a little fatter, and this whole dental appliance thing.
Were they practical, the plumpers?
Yeah, Dick made them out of soft dental acrylic. They had this big, they had this Vitalium bar, this clip-on that went on his lowers, and then Dick modeled this whole thing inside his mouth with soft dental acrylic so that it could move and be flexible instead of making appliances to fatten them up. And it worked beautifully. So I was in charge of the prosthetics on Cotton Club, and to make a long story short, Dick Silbert was the production designer, Richard Silbert, on Cotton Club. And here's one of those things again where it just drops out of the sky. And Dick Silbert works a lot with Warren Beatty as his art director, and said, well, there's this guy because they were planning Dick Tracy, there's this guy in New York named Caglione who did some prosthetics. You should check him out. And so I happened to be in L.A. on a little job, and I called Milena Canonero out at Clear Blue because I knew she was here, the costume designer, and she was, well, you have to meet Warren because he's playing in this movie, Dick Tracy, and she set up through Dick Silbert and Milena Canonero, set up a meeting, and I went to visit, like the next day, Warren Beatty up at his house. And I went up thinking I'm not going to get the job. I'm from New York, and this is just going to be a great Hollywood moment, and I'm going to enjoy this.
Al Pacino, Warren Beatty.
Yeah, so this is great. And I went up to Warren's house, and he said, well, there's this movie, now here's the script, and I want you to go back to the hotel and break it down and come back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock and give me an idea as how you'll do it. And so I stayed up all night, read the script, and did some thumbnail sketches of some of the characters. And
did you use the comic book at all?
Yes,
again?
we used absolutely. I mean, Chester Gould's, that was the whole thing. That was our Bible.
Right.
So my job was never to actually create a prune face. My job was to actually just translate the beautiful drawings of Chester Gould.
Bring it to life.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, they didn't say come up with a prune face.
Right.
It's never. I actually had a drawing to follow, and beautiful drawings. So it was. My job was a translation of those great drawings. And, a miracle happened. And I'll never forget leaving Warren's house after I did the breakdown. I guess he could tell that I was just, like, enjoying the day. And he was walking me to the door. He says, Caglione, you don't think you're getting this movie, do you? And I was like, no, I don't think I'm getting this movie. And then John
What do you
Land.
think he sensed from that? Or
I guess I was just like all like, you know,
Uh-huh.
just enjoying this whole thing, and then I got a phone call from John Landau, the associate producer who I'd worked with a few times, and he called me like 2 o'clock in the morning. We were in Canada doing a job, and he says, "John, I just want to call and let you know that you got Dick Tracy."
did you just melt?
And I'll say I was just jumping up and down on my bed in my hotel room. I couldn't
Yeah.
sleep for like 3 days,
I know that feeling.
and that was a career changer. That was definitely
That's
a
fantastic.
big break.
Now, the interview, you said you were with Dick Smith and Francis Ford
Oh
Coppola.
yeah, back on the Cotton Club. Yeah.
I just don't want to forget that story. I know
Well,
I interrupted it.
yeah,
What
no.
happened there?
Well, that's where I met Dick Silbert.
Right.
And that's where I got to know Melina Canonero, and so in a kind of a roundabout way, Dick Smith really launched my career and helped me get Dick Tracy.
That's fantastic. Did anything interesting happen in that meeting? I didn't want to leave anything out in the meeting where the three of you were together. Or was it just a plain meeting?
You know, it was kind of like me
Excuse me.
just being there, and Dick sanctioning that I was capable of doing the job, and I just pretty much was in awe
That's fantastic.
of that moment, and just trying to kind of get a mental picture in my mind of this. And
It's also, I bet, was there a little bit of pressure involved too? Because here you feel like someone's
Oh.
sanctioning you to do
yeah,
the
Dick
work.
Smith, the greatest.
He
He's
can
the,
do
he's
it
the
all.
best.
He can do
He's
this.
the greatest of all time. You
Yeah.
know, and will I? Sure, I was a nervous wreck. I hope I do a good job for this guy.
Right.
And
Well, apparently you did.
I guess so.
Yeah,
you know?
I guess you did. So let's talk about Dick Tracy. So you actually translated the characters and brought
Yeah.
them to life. You're jumping on the bed. Now all of a sudden,
Yeah.
how much time do you have to prep? What
Not a lot of prep time.
what did you have? Tell us
Gee.
what you went through for that.
Well, the first thing we did is I had Doug Drexler with me, who I made a partner in my company. He's a great artist, and we started doing little sketches, drawings for Warren to look at.
That's
based-
a lot of characters. You have a
based
lot.
on yeah, and I think there were even more early on. And then we kind of, because of the time and
Right.
how we were going to approach the film, it trimmed it down to the main gangsters and bad guys. But I think we had, the one thing about Dick Tracy is we were prepping, and Warren was still casting actors. Like when we did Paul Sorvino as Lips Manless, he was cast halfway into our prep, or 3/4 of the way into our prep. So we only had about 3 weeks to get Lips Manless ready.
So were you working, like doing principal photography with
Yeah.
some that were established
I
and then prepping
Yeah,
others?
I think we only tested Flat Top ahead of time before we started shooting, and Steve the Tramp was another character, and a few others that were in the opening card game that opens the film. And then the rest were we would show Warren a sculpture of a work in progress, and he
Like
would,
a little mini one?
Yeah, I did these little maquettes, these
Yes.
little sculptures that he would get a kind of an idea of what it
Right.
might look like.
What are those? Are those what they're called, maquettes? Because I've seen those. They're like little thumbprint, but actual three-dimensional.
Yeah, something that you could turn
So the
around.
director
and
could
they're
look at-
rough. They're not
Right.
really detailed too much, just so that he can get a,
Excuse me.
an idea. And we showed those to Warren, and he would,
Sign off.
sign off or say, "Can you make this a little different?" And we would change it right there sometimes because we didn't have a lot of time. And I think that was the great thing about Dick Tracy, looking back, is that I think if we had any more time, any more prep time, we might have screwed it up. There's something.
Sometimes the pressure of just having the amount
there's
of time you
something
have.
about working on impulse sometimes where you're not thinking.
Don't have too much freedom to think.
Yeah, where you're just going and just getting impression. I think that helped us on that film, just to go on
That gives it a
automatic
different
pilot.
an avenue, a different expressive quality.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we would have screwed it up if we had more time.
Now, was there any? I also wanted to ask this about Dark Knight. What type of was there lighting considerations and things that you have to take into consideration? And I know that you and I know that.
Yeah.
But I think I'm wanting to share that so that the audience, some of the people who are looking to you, as someone who that they feel that they're fans and they look to your body of work, and they want to understand the whole element of bringing something even in its post-production. Do you find that you're involved all the way through Dick Tracy and Dark Knight with the lighting and?
Yeah, I think it depends on the job, right?
Right.
How important it is, the lighting, and but it's key to what we do. On Dick Tracy, it was very important because Vittorio Storaro shot Dick Tracy, and he had a certain color palette that he wanted to express with the different gels that he wanted to do, like throw certain reds on characters at certain times, and we really had to work with Vittorio.
So it was really, the primary colors were really, like yellows and reds.
Just like the comic strip.
Yeah, just like the comic strip.
So they wanted to stay true with that in the art direction by Dick Silbert, and also the lighting by Storaro. But we ran into some situations where, you know, when you do a prosthetic makeup, and you're putting, first of all, we're tricking the audience into believing that that is flesh.
Right.
And the way we trick it is, you know, you put reds and you put veins in there. You paint on a foam latex appliance, which is a flat
you're
color.
You're building this dimension.
Yeah, and that's what the audience, you want to sell that to the audience, that is skin, but we really know it's foam, rubber, and paint. So you use different colors, vein colors and beard shadows and layers of color. And then on Dick Tracy, Vittorio would come in sometimes and he would put a red gel.
Bye-bye.
And then, yeah, it all disappeared.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so...
Quick.
Yeah. So that was a little tricky because, you know, he's the great Vittorio Storaro.
Did you have the adjustment, the opportunity to make those adjustments when you realized that those kind of lighting influences came about, like, immediately on the set? Were you able to pull back and say, whoa, we got to make our quick adjustments?
Yeah, well, it's hard to adjust to something that's really a red gel.
Right.
It's almost impossible to put skin color back on that. So we had to very carefully work with Vittorio, who's a genius, and figure out ways that we could do a red gel, then a warm color in between, and a red, and kind of
diffuse it out a little bit.
Yeah, and not do so many color gels. And so that was a little tricky. But on The Dark Knight, Wally Pfister, the DP, he had a certain vision, and he did some of the most incredible lighting jobs on the Joker. You know, there's scenes where he's in the interrogation room.
I was just with the interrogation when he's like
where
really
this face floating in black that looks like a Bacon painting.
Yeah.
And so you just sit back and let a guy like Wally Pfister just
do his
make you look good, you know, and that's exactly what he did there. So I didn't have that much to do with Wally's work. He's brilliant.
Can you touch base on the
IMAX?
IMAX? Yeah.
Well, it was first time for me. And the thing is huge. You ever been to an IMAX theater?
Yes. Oh, yes.
You can see every little
thing.
Every little thing.
It's worse than high def, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. And so I thank God in a way that the Joker makeup was kind of a messy thing, because you could get away with it in an IMAX because it was so distorted and strange. But it was we would go to dailies once in a while, and they had an IMAX screen in Chicago.
So you could actually see.
We would actually go and see, and we'd be like, oh, "Holy cow! You could see, you could see a lot." But
was there any adjustments that were made by the DP to help compensate with the makeup, or was it pretty much like...
it was let's just get it done. Let's just go. If Wally was making adjustments, I didn't know about it.
Right.
But it was such a huge picture to shoot that we were just. Our department with the Joker, they were so well planned. They would have, we would shoot one setup.
Right.
They would have the next camera setup ready to go. We wouldn't be waiting. We would jump from one setup to the next setup to the next setup. I mean, my job was just to make sure the makeup was still on.
Right.
I mean, there was no time to even.
There wasn't a lot of long setups. We were just moving.
And the whole picture went that way.
That's fantastic. Keeping on schedule and moving and keeping the actors' ability to keep in character without having this downtime is essential.
Help the performance.
Yeah.
Heath was not standing around very often. We would just keep going, keep going. I've never been on a film like that where
I haven't either.
They would leapfrog setups. They would just keep going. The next camera set would be ready. We would shoot.
Just enough to just tweak it if they had to tweak it, right?
Right, to just check an edge or fix the color to match the shot before, and just, you know, it's like roping a steer. It was like that was it. You know, go.
What was Dick Tracy like that? I know it wasn't
No,
IMAX.
it was more deliberate. It was more low key.
scene.
You know, you were isolated in a set on a stage. The Dark Knight was out in Chicago in the streets, hanging off of trucks, and in every possible weather condition, 100% humidity in Chicago, and the heat and cold in London, but running, you had to really pay attention on The Dark Knight. Chris Nolan never was like looking around waiting to do a shot. Right. They were ready. They were lit and set and ready to go.
So you were like in and out and
you had to pay attention if you could have missed a shot.
It sounds like it was kind of in a physical exertion as well. I'm just saying that even though can be on our game, that sometimes you have to keep the pace with the director and the production, and a lot of times, you're just kind of on autopilot, and you go and then you collapse like 8 months later.
Exactly.
You just go, yeah. Isn't that true? I find that.
And I find
the stamina is amazing where it comes from. I think it comes from the passion.
Yeah.
The passion that we have, all of a sudden you realize, how did I get through that?
And with Heath, it's infectious, like we said earlier.
Right.
He was so going and is so into it that you just followed in his wake. And it made it fun. It really did. It was great.
Now on Dick Tracy, any fun stories with the audience on any of these characters, like any fun things with the makeup or something? Gee. I'm just curious, sometimes little antidotes that would be interesting. Did you do Madonna's makeup as well?
No, that was Richard Dean, did her beautiful beauty makeup, Richard Dean. I just did her as the blank.
Early Madonna.
Early Madonna.
Meaning early Madonna, she's...
You mean like...
she's gone through lots
Desperately Seeking Susan Madonna?
No, not that early.
Okay.
Not that early. But I'm just saying early Madonna, meaning she has gone through so many, phases, as we know Madonna from growing up, that I call Madonna and Dick Tracy kind of the early Madonna.
Yeah.
Yeah, before, she has evolved into the many different, entertaining aspects of Madonna.
Right, right.
But in all of these, you had Seymour Cassell, didn't you? I've worked with him. Isn't he crazy?
Incredible.
I mean that in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, and a great actor. Doesn't he come from like the Cassavetes
yes, he does.
group? And, he's an icon in his own...
Big cigar always hanging out. Yeah.
I mean, we got to
He's
work
the
with...
kind of guy that would smoke the cigar while getting his makeup done.
Did he?
Yeah, always. I was okay, whatever.
Whatever.
So there weren't any. So no antidotes about any of these characters, just for makeup fun, or was there?
Yeah, well, we had fun all the time on Dick Tracy. I mean, we had a great team of people. We had V. Neal working with us, putting makeups on.
How many artists did you have?
We had. I brought out Kevin Haney from New York. He's an incredible makeup artist.
I love Kevin Haney.
One of the best. Incredible. We had Craig Reardon helping us put on makeups, and V, and in the lab we had Greg Smith and a bunch of... It wasn't a big crew in the lab, which was pretty cool. I rented the back of Sandy Berman's old, from the Berman, not Berman, Tom Berman, but Sandy Berman, Berman Industries. She had a back room.
Isn't that in the Valley?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we rented the back 750 square feet, so it wasn't a big room that we set up, which was good because you could see the mold makers right there making the molds, and I could be sculpting and you could troubleshoot. So
you could really keep an eye on things.
Yeah, it was all right
processes.
within your reach. But we had a great crew of people, and I guess one funny story is we were making up Henry Silva as influence, the great gangster or from the Rat Pack.
Right.
And we did this whole makeup, and he was like, "No one's going to recognize me, John. No one's going to recognize me." He was very upset about that. And we got the makeup on, and he was ready to step out of the trailer, and that wardrobe girl came in and says, "Isn't that Henry Silva?" Because it kind of still looked like...
Yeah.
I mean, Henry, I'm sorry, but
you got recognized.
It kind of still looked like Henry Silva there. So that was kind of fun.
Now, I bet cleanup was big. A lot of... I don't really think... Well, I guess I would say that some artists realize, but a lot of times artists don't realize that the cleanup capacity...
Yes.
I helped Matthew Mungle on Little Britain, and the amount
Which
of work...
is beautiful, incredible work, man. I mean, incredible stuff.
The amount of work that goes into the design and getting the makeup applied, but there's so much work in maintaining actors as they go through the daily processes of being these characters in the cleanup.
And going for, like, some of these guys wore the makeup 60 or 70 times. Yeah.
60 or 70 times?
I think Flat Top, Bill Forsyth, wore that makeup like 65 times.
He's a trooper, that Bill Forsyth. I did a movie with him, too. He's a
tough dude,
He's
man.
a tough dude. He's in there. Yeah. Yeah, I know Bill Forsyth.
But we had a cleanup crew in Dick Tracy. We actually had a separate group of artists that would come in, makeup artists with the local, and they were just trained to remove makeups.
Like Star Trek. That's what I used to do on Star Trek.
Is that what you did? They had
I never was, I was more on the cleanup crew, which I have to say was a really great way to learn.
Yeah.
Your call time would be early evening.
Yeah.
And then the artists that did all of the characters for the show went home fresh. We would come in, and then we would do all the cleanup work. But I liked that because I have to be really honest with you. And when I used to get the Star Trek calls, I was nervous. And I'd get a call and go like, okay, you have an 8-hour call for Star Trek. I'd be like, oh, I don't think I can go. I'm going to be all these peers. I was afraid.
Yeah.
And then one day I was like, you know what, you have got to go. And so I did, and so I started to get on the cleanup crew. And then I found that I really learned a lot, even taking things off on how things would adhere and all that. So the cleanup crew was just as important in maintaining these actors.
Absolutely.
For the everyday use that they had to.
Just as important as putting it on, as removing it.
We're going to take a break, John.
Okay.
We're going to come back, and we're going to finish up our interview. I still have a couple more questions. I hope that if you don't mind, we'll take a little break. No. We'll come back. Don't touch that mouse. We'll be right back. Kelsey Fry, my friend John Caglione Jr. We're here at the Pacific Dining Car. Welcome back. Kelsey Fry with MUATV. Johnny, how you doing?
Good to be here with you, Kelsey.
Thank you so much for sticking it out. We've been here for quite a few hours. We've enjoyed this Pacific dining car meal and chocolate souffle.
Great to be with you again.
Thank you so much. You're really kind. I don't want to forget your Emmy nominations. You have one here for Star Trek, Next Generation.
Thank God for Mike Westmore.
Yeah, yes. Isn't he wonderful?
He's a great guy, you know.
Yeah. He's very giving, Michael Westmore.
I think he put the guy who swept the lab on, you know, the lab floor on the list too. He's a great, you know, he's. I was surprised by that nomination because I think I just worked a couple days and did the background, and so what a generous man, very generous guy.
You know, I find that, you know, I've won an Emmy and I've had an Emmy nomination for, you know, soap opera. I mean, you know, they're all accolades to the work that we've done, but. You know, I'm also quite grateful to Matthew Munkel, who allowed me to be a part of the Six Feet Under final episode.
Right, cool.
And you know, I think it's really important to be recognized in whatever capacity when a team or an episode or a film gets nominated for, you know, its outstanding work. And I think that it really speaks a lot when the department head recognizes every person in their capacity. And I know a lot of times people don't realize that some of these academies limit, you know, the ability to
get everybody in there.
Get everybody in there. You know,
that
they create the boundaries. And even though artists want to be able to say, and there was so and so and so and so and so and so, that the academy is like, listen, one person or two people, and that's all you get. Right. So it is really nice when those moments come that people recognize us for our work.
Yeah, that's great. Mike Westmore is terrific guy.
Yeah, he's a terrific guy.
Yeah.
And then I noticed also Angels in America, which was a fantastic miniseries.
Yeah.
That was great.
Pretty outstanding.
Any stories you want to share about anything at all? I just wanted to recognize. I loved Angels in America. It was an absolutely great story.
Tony Kushner
and you worked with Roy Holland, right?
Yeah, I didn't have that much to do with Roy. I came in with Al Pacino, and just to, you know, star request.
What's it like to come in with Al Pacino?
Oh, you kidding?
I mean, we're talking Al Pacino. I mean, you're Joe.
I have to pinch myself. I'm not kidding you. It's a privilege. It's a privilege.
How does he like? Does he like the cappuccino? What does he have? Russell Crowe likes the cappuccino. What is Al Pacino like?
I've never made a capo for Al. But maybe, hopefully, if I get another time with him, we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
All right.
I'd like to see. I'd like to see how that would go.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I've never made a capo for Al. I've actually had to run to Starbucks and get him one.
Right.
But it'd be a privilege to not only do his makeup but make one for him.
Make him.
But it's cool. It's on. You know, it's like beyond the dream.
Yeah.
You know, not to sound too modest, but I thought I'd be in a dental lab working. So this is all pretty amazing. But yeah, it was great working with Al on Angels in America. And we started out I made appliances for Al to. Because he plays Roy Cohn, and he goes through this entire demise where he just breaks down and gets AIDS and full-blown AIDS, and did all these appliances for him. And
was that was that silicone? Foam?
Well, you know, in the end, I made foam appliances. I wasn't really into silicone at that point, and you made appliances for around his eyes and KS lesion pieces and things, and then in the end, we wound up just doing it all with paint. because
Wow.
they
The old
just
paint and powder.
just the old paint and powder,
Yeah.
and a great acting job, and great lighting and cinematography by Stephen Goldblatt,
Right, yeah.
who I've
Beautiful.
worked with a couple of times. He shot The Cotton Club, and he shot For the Boys. And Stephen's a fan of makeup and really knows how to light and shoot makeup. So
So he collaborates.
I owe half that Emmy to Stephen Goldblatt and the other half to Al Pacino, who did a great acting job. And so it was just paint, powder, and makeup. We even painted those lesions on. And Al doesn't like to sit in a chair a lot for too long. And I mean, who does? And we didn't have a lot of time. It was a TV movie with a huge schedule.
Right.
So it was just, highlight and shadow and paint. And
Now, what made you? You said that you hadn't really become familiar with silicone at that time.
Yeah.
What crossed you over to understand silicone more and maybe adapt it into what you were doing, in the future? How does a person make that decision? And I'm mostly speaking for some of our audience members that are trying to discern between foam and silicone and gelatin and how did you get to
I just
silicone?
think it's, I came from being a lab guy, making foam appliances and doing special effects makeup. That's really where I started. And so I'm just trying to keep up with the times and knowing about silicone and putting that into what I know. And if
What was the first thing you kind of looked at that
the Joker.
The Joker.
Yeah, Connor's work. Did a beautiful job and took the time to show me the process of how he did it, and could actually feel it and see it, and was like, wow, I got to learn how to do this. And I know a lot of people are doing it now, and it's just something that I have to put in my kit and know how to do, and it's great stuff. It really is. So it's just, foam and gelatin. And
they all have their differences for very specific reasons.
Oh,
What it does is it becomes like people used to think airbrushing was some big, innovative thing. And in reality, airbrushing is a tool, and it comes into play when you need that tool to accommodate certain aspects of application that you particularly need. Sometimes it's good by hand, and sometimes, it's good by brush. Sometimes it's good, with an airbrush.
Right. You just every job is different. It requires a different thing, and so it's good to be able to know all the mediums and work with them and feel confident about working with them. And I know silicone. A lot of people are using it now, and it's just something I had to get on the bandwagon and do. And now I'm making silicone pieces, and it's fun. It's just fun to learn something new.
I'm going to come by when I see you next time if we're in New York and come by and you can kind of show me. You said a little bit of mold thing because I'm not real versed or familiar in the silicone, but I'd love to.
It's easy.
Maybe
it's
just kind of like, kind of like a cooking show, but it'll be like siliconing with
do
Johnny.
It. Yeah,
I can
like
come
a little
visit
Rachel
you.
Ray thing.
A little Rachel silicone in 30 minutes or less. We could do like a silicone in 30 minutes or less.
Right.
That would be great.
Let's do it.
That'd be fun.
I'd love to.
Now I wanted two things. I know that Dick Smith, big mentor.
Oh, yeah.
And we have to add your brother, Paul, in there because for whatever he did, he added a lot.
He did. He suffered along with me on
launching you into your career.
Yeah.
But is there anyone else that you would like to? I mean, I know there are a lot of influences and people that are your peers and that you respect.
Oh, yeah.
But is there anyone deep down that you feel that was also mentoring? I know Dick Smith because we've mentioned him several times. But is there anyone else you'd like to mention?
Oh yeah, sure. There's Lee Bagan, who was the head of the NBC makeup department, who really hired me.
Oh, the NBC with Saturday Night Live. We forgot to even touch on that.
Yeah, back in the mid '70s, where I started in television.
Tell me a little bit about Saturday Night Live.
Oh,
I just want to interrupt my mentoring question with the Saturday Night Live because that is amazing to be able to make those quick changes and to create. I did learn from some of my research that I don't know each character or each actor that represented a character. They all have their own makeup, hair, and wardrobe person. Is that true?
Pretty much, yeah. I'm going back to. I started in '76.
When did Saturday Night Live start?
'75 was the first year.
First year.
I missed the first season. I came in the second season, and I was the apprentice. And I basically
what a great way to apprentice.
Yeah, how about that?
Oh my God. Those days are long gone.
NBC was my college of makeup knowledge.
Yes,
It really was. That's where I really learned a lot. And Lee Bagan gave me my first job there through a recommendation from Dick Smith. And it was I basically stayed with the boys. It was John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, but my main guy was Bill Murray. He was the new one that year, so they kind of put me with Billy, and I was their prosthetics guy. If there was a cone head to put on, or the Blues Brothers needed soul patches, or anything like that, I got the nod on that.
And did you sculpt and create and, and design all those, you know, like the cone head?
Well, the cone heads Carl Fullerton did, and I owe a big shout out to Carl, because I really learned a lot of lab work I do.
Isn't Carl Denzel Washington?
Yes, he's Denzel's makeup.
Yeah, he's
artist.
Denzel's makeup. I met him on training day.
Yeah.
Nicest, sweetest,
generous,
giving.
Yep.
Man, he actually. I was helping
he's got
on
the chops. The guy's a great makeup guy. He's one of the best in the business.
He invited me into the trailer to just have an extra pair of hands while he was doing Denzel for training day in just, I think it was a big tattoo day.
Right.
And I was working with Ken Diaz. And Carl said, that young lady, can she come in and help me? I think he just needed an extra pair of hands so that Denzel wouldn't have to sit in the chair very long. And I had just that moment. And he was absolutely the kindest, most generous man in that moment, and made me feel, even though I was a little nervous to be in his realm with Denzel, he was very kind and very
Makes you feel right at home.
He did, right at home.
Yeah. I can't say enough great things about Carl. He really taught me lab work. He hired me on Friday the 13th, Part 2, back in the 70s. And
that's got to be great stories there, too.
And really, a lot of the lab practices that I use in the lab, I really learned from Carl Fullerton. And still, he's been a big influence. There's another huge influence on how I do what I do, Carl. And so
you were nominated also, weren't you, on Saturday Night Live for an Emmy?
I did it. I did 5 years with the original cast.
Right.
I
mean, there was a group of you, not just you singled out.
Oh yeah,
but as I read here, there was like 7 of you that.
Oh yeah, well, I wasn't the department head.
Right.
Back in the 70s, it was Franny Kolar. I was just the prosthetic guy. If there was something crazy, they would, I would work.
Yeah,
I worked all the shows, but if there was something nutty and with prosthetics, I got the call for that.
You had to make those changes pretty quick, didn't you?
Pretty amazing, yeah.
I mean, like what, like 5 minutes?
And sometimes
3 minutes?
And sometimes we didn't make it. Yeah, there was one time where I had to do a ball cap on John Belushi, and I would like to think that it was for the dress rehearsal show, not the air show.
Right.
But I think it was the air show, and I had to do him as a Hare Krishna, and I had the whole thing pre-glued, pre-painted with the hair and everything, and I glued. We had between like maybe 45 seconds, and I glued the whole thing down, but I forgot to glue the back of it. We pushed him out, and it was lifting during the show. It was like coming up, and his hair's falling out. And Belushi is so great that he was able to make it funny and use it.
He used it.
But then came looking for me after that sketch, and it's like, Caglione, don't ever make me have to do that again.
It was too much work on my back.
I'll kill you. So, yeah, it was kind of
really
fun.
had a handful of remarkable people to be able to really hone your craft and really, build onto.
You too.
Well, yes, I know, but
too.
I'm looking at yours, and I would say that you have some greater summits. I mean, mine are my own,
I don't know about that,
but we're talking about you today.
Just have mine, and everybody has theirs.
I know, everybody has their summits.
That's great, man. Yeah.
Now, let's talk about Friday the 13th. Any fun stories there? That is like a classic. I mean, to the audience.
Yeah, Carl Fullerton.
I can't even watch those movies. They're just too intense for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I learned how to do lab work. That was Carl. Carl was the department head, and I was a nervous wreck going up there the first day to New Jersey, where Carl has a basement workshop, and I was just like, because Carl worked with Dick Smith on Altered States and on The Hunger, and was Dick Smith's right-hand guy. I mean, Carl's incredible, and I had to go work with him, and I remember he was sculpting the Jason makeup. And taking it a whole new direction from Tom Savini's original, and the sculpture was absolutely beautiful. And I was like, oh God, And so I learned a lot about sculpture and design from Carl. So I was his lab guy, and learned.
Everything. All the little lab
everything.
Ins and outs of the lab.
I still make molds the way he mixes UltraCal. I mix it the same way, and
it's interesting. I've interviewed a few artists, and people who have come from outside of the lab, have come out from the threshold of the lab, have all commented, and I'm sure that their lab work and their experience of being in the lab has really given them an opportunity to really express themselves artistically even
Yeah.
more with more confidence,
Yeah.
with more surety about what they're doing actually as
Really?
department head. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, my friend Erin Kruger,
Yeah.
you know, she was doing, or she is doing, you know, the last season of Nip Tuck. And she really commented on, you know, working in the lab and being part of the lab really helped her understand how then she would execute and, you know, work
Sure.
with and design the makeups with the Bermans.
So
you know,
to
for
go
the
all
Nip
the way
Tuck.
down the line to the finished
Yeah.
product, yeah.
So there is really something to be said about starting in the lab, even if you're wanting to build yourself to get to be, you know, working in front of the camera.
Yep.
You know, that really does kind of lead you into.
Well, you know, just to pick up on it, I consider myself very fortunate to be able to like be a prosthetics guy, and to be able to make the transition to being a department head on a film, to move from the lab to supervising like the movie The Departed,
Right.
where I'm doing Vera Farmiga's makeup and doing effects and stuff, and I'm very fortunate to have been able to make that transition.
Right. To be full circle in all of it. Where you
Yeah.
can do the beauty, the lab, the design,
Yeah.
the thumbnails, the sketches, the little three-dimensional characterizations for the
I
directors.
thank God, man, because that's a.
Yeah.
I thought it would either be one way or the other for a while. I'd just do the lab work or just do effects makeup, but I've been very, very blessed that I've been able to get a chance to do the whole film, and that's great.
That's fantastic. So
Yeah.
we'll touch base, and I don't want to keep you much longer, but I want to say, so Carl, we're going to add Carl Fullerton, I
Oh,
would
yeah,
believe,
major
along with Dick
influence.
Smith as one of your mentors. Anyone
Yeah.
else you'd like to mention?
Lee Bagan, Kevin Haney.
We love
you know,
Kevin
he's
Haney.
brilliant.
Yeah. I don't know Lee Bagan, but
He's gone, but he a major influence in me growing up and helping me transition from a young kid, 18 to 25. Needed a father figure, and he was that father figure at that time. And Kevin and Doug Drexler, incredible artist, and Craig Reardon, Rick Baker, you know, and Jack Pierce and the Westmores and everybody. You know.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much,
Thank you, Kelsey.
and Helen, your wife,
you,
for
yeah.
coming here and spending the afternoon with me, you know, and also our audience on MUA TV. And I'm going to be at the symposium, so I'll give you a wink, you know, because I know that you'll
right.
be inundated with a lot of your peers from not only the industry, maybe 790. I don't know if people come to the symposium here, but do they have symposiums in New York?
I don't think they do.
No, just
I don't
here in
think so.
LA.
No, this is where this is.
So I'll see you at
This
the
is where the big stuff
symposium.
happens. Yeah.
And I want to wish you the best
Thank you very
on your
much. Thank you
nomination,
kindly.
and that you enjoy the whole process,
We
because
are.
that's what it's about.
We're psyched.
Someone told me
We're
once,
really
and I don't.
enjoying this.
Someone told me once. They said, you know, man gives award, but life gives reward.
Yeah.
And so, whichever you get on the award, reward, I wish you the best. And it's
Thank
been
you,
a real
Kelsey.
pleasure.
You too.
If I could reach
Thank
across
you.
and hug
Oh,
you, I would.
Good handshake there.
So
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And thank you. We want
great.
to thank the Pacific Dining Car for giving this opportunity to shoot here and have a lovely lunch. And this is Kelsey Fry for MUA TV. Don't touch that mouse. We'll be right back.
I'm John Caglione Jr., and you're watching MUA TV.